O-S-T-M-U-S-T-I-S-N-T, present tense, present tense. Annotaciones de verbo. These are our notes about verbs for caput or stage 4. You should be able to recognize verbs in sentences. You should be able to identify what conjugation a verb belongs to. Both of these were actually done earlier, but I will review the conjugations. You should be able to conjugate all conjugations in the present tense. Between recognizing and then conjugating them, those are base skills. Those are level 2s. I can read Latin verbs in sentences paying particular attention to person. That's our mastery skill. That's where you want to be. I can create a Latin sentence with a properly conjugated verb. That's our whoa bomb diggity skill, where I hope we all get. So let's talk about verbs. Verbs have properties. So just like we've been talking about nouns and how nouns have gender, right? Masculine, feminine, neuter, and they have tense, or they have number, which is singular or plural. Verbs also have characteristics or traits or properties. You can think of them as traits, though I'm going to use the word properties. And all verbs in all languages have these properties, or at least some of them, but we're going to talk about the ones that apply to Latin. I've just drawn a line across because these first 3 are going to be the most important ones for us this year. So I'm going to talk about them first. Tense. Tense is when something is happening. Look at the example. I am walking versus they were walking. This is present tense, I am doing it now, versus past tense, they were doing it. In this video, we're just going to discuss present tense. So that's all this lesson is about. It's important that you know what present tense is. Person, that's who's doing the action. In our example, we have an I, which is actually first person point of view, versus they, which is a third person point of view. So who is doing it? This is a very important concept in this lesson. Number. Number is also an important concept in this lesson. How many people are doing it? I is actually singular. It's one person. They is plural. Voice and mood are both a little conceptually more difficult than the other top 3 concepts. And this year we're only going to deal with active voice. What that means is that the subject is doing the action. So voice asks the question, is the subject doing the action? If we look at example 1, I am walking, is the I the person walking? Well, yeah. But if we look at example, the second part of the example, it says I am walked. Now the subject is not the one, the I is not the one doing the walking. They are being walked. Like somebody would walk maybe their puppy dog. That's actually called passive because the subject is passively receiving the verb. We're not going to worry about that right now. No, active is when the subject does it, and that's all we have. Mood. Mood is how it's being done. This is the difference between something being more factual, as in the speaker believes it happens or is happening or did happen, versus the speaker wishing it would happen, versus the speaker isn't really sure. They're kind of fuzzy. They don't know. Is it going to happen? So there are lots of moods, but we're talking about our mood, and the word I need you to know here is indicative. And all of our questions and statements right now will be indicative, and like indicate. An indicative mood indicates that something is really happening, or the speaker believes it is, or that it did, such as I am walking, versus something that's more wishful or hypothetical. Conjugations. Let's review that really quickly. Conjugations are families of verbs. And in Latin, we have 4, though technically there's this little kind of half family, third IO. Remember that each conjugation, once it's a part of it, it belongs there and it just stays there. So all verbs that have an ARE, an A in the infinitive before the RE, are first. All verbs that have E's though, are not second. Unfortunately, it's not as easy because thirds and third IOs also have E's. But there's a way to tell them apart. Second conjugations have what's called a macron there, and most books and dictionaries will include that. And that means that it's pronounced sedere rather than sedere. And that hard E signals its second. Also, though, I give you a way without the long mark to know that it's second, which is that it has an EO in the first part of the dictionary entry. Thirds have an E but no EO and no macron. Third IOs have an E and then an IO. Fourth, thankfully, is easy again, just like first. They all have IRE, so if it has an I, it's fourth. So we talked about tense, and I will just talk about it briefly because it has to do with the Latin verbs changing endings. So this whole video and lesson is going to be about Latin verbs changing endings. And they change endings to show tense. That's one reason they change endings. So that would be like the difference, and just so you can see, between gusto, which is present tense, right? This is what we're focused on, and says I eat, versus gustabom, which it still says I, the person's the same, but it's past tense, used to eat. We're focused here, though. We're focused on present tense, things happening currently. Remember that in Latin, if we see a sentence, there are 3 ways that it translates into English present tense. So we can translate puella sedet as the girl sits, the girl does sit, or the girl is sitting. And this works for every present tense verb in every present tense situation. Point of view or person. This is just like reading a novel. So think about English class. There are 3 points of view or persons. There's first person, there's second person, and there's third person. And it all has to do with who's speaking. So in first person point of view, the speaker, right, is referring to themselves. So we see I as a singular, or them and somebody else. So as a plural, we see we. So see, now I've brought in number as well, the singular versus plural. So really, we're talking here both about person and we're talking about number. Second person is when the speaker is talking directly to someone, and that is you. The pronoun for that is you in the singular. It's also you in the plural, though I will often say you all or y'all because, you know, I'm from the South, to indicate the plural. Third person is when the speaker is talking about somebody that is more distant from them, removed from them. And you get the pronouns he, she, and it. You also get the pronoun they. He, she, and it, of course, are all singular. They is the plural form. So Latin is going to change its verb endings to show who the person is. It's also going to show the number of the person. So it's going to show I versus we, I versus you, we versus he. You get it. Here are some examples. The word arcado technically says I approach, versus arcadumus says we approach. Look at what's changed. It's simply that ending. So this is first person, I. This is first person, we. But this is singular, and that's plural. And the Latin ending changed to show that. Also, if we look at a different person, arcaditis, notice our stem of the verb is still the same because that part says approach, but the person has changed. Now we're talking about second person, or you, and in this case it's plural, so it's, you know, y'all. Nota bene, or note well in Latin, that these are all present tense things I'm talking about, and the verb ending is changing with each new point of view. So how do we change this ending? Well, we change the ending with a process called conjugating, and this is how to conjugate a verb. So you need to go to the dictionary entry, you go to the second principal part, which is called the infinitive, and you get rid of the RE. Then, depending on what person, who you want to be the subject and how many, that's the ending that you put on there. We've been using a T ending because it means he, she, or it, which is third person singular. And that's all we know. But we're about to get the other people. So what we did, right, the process, and the process will be the same for every verb, is laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatus. There's our dictionary entry. We took the infinitive, laudare, got rid of the re, which gave us our stem, and then we added the ending of a T because we've always been wanting to say he, she, or it. So we end up with a conjugated verb that says he, she, or it praises. But what about the other endings? Well, I'm going to show you what to do for first and second conjugations. We're going to focus on those two and learn about third, and fourth next time. So first and second conjugations do the same thing. The example I'm going to give you is amo amare, which means to love or to like. So remember, we've got to go to the dictionary entry. We go to the second part, or the infinitive. So I take amare. I get rid of the re, and then I've got my stem. And now I'm supposed to add endings. Well, we know the T, but we don't know the others. The others are the song I was singing at the beginning. So this chart is set up like the one I'm about to show you, with it fully conjugated, and the chart will be the same for all verbs. The left side is singular, the right side is plural. This first row is first person, representing I, first person singular is I, and first person plural for we. Second row is second person, so you and y'all. And then third is what we know and love, which is that third person he, she, or it on the singular side, and they in the plural. The endings are ost, mus, tis, nt. And here's what it looks like when we fully conjugate it. We end up with amo, amas, amat, amamus, amatus, amant. See how we've taken these endings, highlighted in green, and we've just added that stem from the infinitive to them. The only one that's different, nota bene, again, is this first person singular, the one that says I love, or I am loving, or I do love. It's just the first word in the dictionary entry, and it's been shoved in there. There's no A. It's not amao, it's amo. And all of the first conjugations will do that. The A drops out. For second, it's also the first word. Remember, seconds have that EO though, so their E is actually present throughout the whole thing. So like if I conjugated seteo, sit, I sit, still has the E, just because it's there in the first part. So really, you can think of it one of two ways. You can think of first the A drops out, or you can think of it that all the verbs, and this works for every verb, that first one is the one that says I. And then the rest, you chop off the RE and add the endings. Well, that's all I got for you guys. Well,